Welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Today in history, the show that proves time is a flat circle and every date on the calendar is basically a reboot of human stupidity. October 13th, a day that truly has it all. Poisoned mushrooms, burned nights, misplaced cornerstones, naval improv, and Chilean miners who literally pulled off the greatest comeback since The Empire Strikes Back. Every October 13th, the universe seems to ask humanity, what if we just made it weird? And history says, hold my wine, my torch, and my Masonic apron. Segment 1, the poison chalice, from Claudius to Nero, 54 AD. October 13th, 54 AD. Emperor Claudius dies mysteriously, and Rome goes from grumpy grandpa running the empire to teen psychopath with mommy issues. Yeah, Agrippina the Younger, queen of nepotism and possibly the first momager in history, allegedly poisons her husband so her son Nero can be emperor. Because nothing says family values like assassinating your spouse and calling it career development. Ancient historians say she slipped poison into his mushrooms. Because if there's one thing history teaches us, it's never trust mushrooms in Rome. Or for that matter, in a Midwestern casserole. Claudius dies, Nero becomes emperor, and suddenly Rome's palace looks less like the seat of civilization and more like an episode of Succession, the Colosseum edition. Nero's first act, murder his stepbrother. His second, start a fire. His third, blame the Christians. So yeah, day one of Nero's reign was the ancient equivalent of launching your presidential campaign on Truth Social. Agrippina's ambition gave us a reign of terror and a burned down city. The moral of the story? Never underestimate a woman with eyeliner, political ambition, and access to poisonous fungi. Segment 2, the Templars' doom, a king's greed, and the fall of an order. Fast forward to October 13th, 1307, the original Friday the 13th. King Philip IV of France wakes up and chooses chaos, ordering the arrest of the Knights Templar, the medieval equivalent of Goldman Sachs with swords. The Templars were rich, powerful, and exempt from taxes. Basically, they were Amazon Prime, but with chainmail. So naturally, Philip, who was broke from years of war and bad financial decisions, said, let's cancel them. He accused them of heresy, idolatry, and, in true medieval fashion, spitting on the cross. Because when you can't pay your bills, accuse your creditors of satanic yoga. He tortured them until they confessed, which, to be fair, is also how Congress gets tech CEOs to say, we value privacy. By 1312, the Pope dissolved the order, Philip got their money, and the world got its first Friday the 13th superstition. So the next time you trip on a black cat or your latte explodes, blame King Philip IV, not Mercury in retrograde. This was the moment when church and state stopped being separate institutions and started being co-conspirators in asset liquidation. Segment 3, a foundation for a republic, the White House cornerstone, 1792. October 13th, 1792. They lay the cornerstone of the White House. George Washington shows up in full Masonic regalia, like he's hosting Extreme Makeover Republic Edition. The design was by an Irish architect, James Hoban, who basically took Leinster House in Dublin, slapped a few columns on it, and said, boom, democracy, but classy. The ceremony was Masonic, symbolic, and, in true government tradition, the cornerstone immediately went missing. Yep, historians have never found it. The literal foundation of the presidency disappeared faster than a classified document in Mar-a-Lago. But symbolically, this was America saying, we don't need kings, we've got cornerstones. The White House became the ultimate metaphor, a palace pretending not to be a palace. The president lives there, but it's also the people's house, which is why every 4 years we get to watch half the country scream, not my house guest. Washington wanted a simple, classical design, the kind of thing that whispers virtue. Now it's where presidents host Super Bowl champions, pardon turkeys, and the occasional insurrection investigation. Ah, progress. Segment 4, the Crucible of Conflict, Birth of a Navy and the Battle of Queenston Heights, 1775 and 1812. October 13th, 1775, the Continental Congress decides, you know what, let's get a Navy, because nothing says we're serious about independence like 2 ships and a dream. They authorized 2 vessels to intercept British supply ships. Basically, America's first Uber Eats, but for gunpowder. It was the birth of the U.S. Navy, or as I like to call it, the original coastal elite. George Washington, ever the overachiever, was already out there hijacking ships like it was fast and furious colonial drift. Sure, they couldn't beat the Royal Navy, but they could annoy it, which, let's be honest, has been U.S. foreign policy ever since. Jump to October 13th, 1812, the Battle of Queenston Heights. America invades Canada, assuming Canadians would welcome them as liberators. Spoiler alert, they did not. They politely told us to kindly surrender, eh? U.S. militia refused to cross the river because they didn't want to fight on foreign soil. So half the army stayed home and the other half got captured. It's like if half the football team decided to protest the Super Bowl because it was too far. The British commander, Sir Isaac Brock, died in battle, but became a Canadian folk hero. Basically, the Maple Leafs' George Washington. And the U.S. got a valuable lesson. Never underestimate Canada's ability to fight when you touch their side of the river or their healthcare system. Segment 5. An alliance shattered. Italy's reversal in World War II, 1943. October 13th, 1943. Italy declares war on Germany. You know it's bad when your ex-partner in fascism suddenly changes sides mid-war. It's like watching your toxic friend realize halfway through brunch, oh no, we're the bad guys. Mussolini had been deposed, arrested, then rescued by Hitler in a dramatic heist movie no one asked for. Meanwhile, Italy's new leader, Marshal Badoglio, said, yeah, we're with the Allies now. Which was great, except the Germans were already occupying half the country. So for a while, Italy was basically at war with itself, the world's most violent group chat. Italy became a co-belligerent, which is diplomatic code for we're helping, but don't trust us too much. The war turned Italy into a literal battleground. Monte Cassino, Anzio, endless destruction. Still, switching sides was the best political pivot since Reagan went from actor to president. It also taught us an important lesson. Even fascists can have a change of heart when their tanks are on fire. Segment 6. Triumph over adversity. The Chilean miners' rescue, 2010. October 13th, 2010. The world collectively stopped doom scrolling for 5 minutes to watch something good happen. 33 miners trapped underground for 69 days were rescued one by one in Chile. It was part Apollo 13, part Survivor, and part, dear God, please let this work. NASA engineers helped design the rescue capsule because if there's one thing America excels at, it's bringing people back from claustrophobic death traps. Each miner had to squeeze into a capsule barely 2 feet wide, the world's most terrifying elevator. And yet, they came out cheering, waving flags, and instantly becoming global heroes. It was the first time in decades the internet agreed on something. Of course, fame is complicated. Within months, movie deals, lawsuits, and PTSD followed. But for one day, October 13th, 2010, humanity looked competent. We built something. It worked, and no one got canceled. A rare moment. Segment 7. Other notables, from the stars to stand-up, 1,773 to 1,983. October 13th, 1,773. Charles Messier discovers the Whirlpool Galaxy. He looked up, saw a cosmic spiral, and basically said, neat. 200 years later, we're still trying to explain the internet to our grandparents, so let's not brag. October 13th, 1958. A Bear Called Paddington is published. A polite immigrant bear from Peru arrives in London, gets adopted, and teaches humans empathy, which, ironically, many humans have yet to learn. October 13th, 1972. A plane crashes in the Andes. Survivors last 72 days, resorting to cannibalism. Proof that humanity can survive anything, except in-flight meal service. October 13th, 1983. The first U.S. cell phone network launches in Chicago. A new era begins. People could finally call each other from the car to say, I'm 5 minutes away while being an hour late. It changed the world and also created the monster known as conference calls. And speaking of monsters, this day also gave us Margaret Thatcher and Lenny Bruce, both born on October 13th, 1925. One fought unions, the other fought censors. Both scared the hell out of men in suits. And Paul Simon, born October 13th, 1941. Still out there proving that the only thing more enduring than human resilience is the bridge over troubled water that you've been humming since 1970. In conclusion, October 13th is proof that humanity never does anything halfway. If we're going to build a White House, we'll lose the cornerstone. If we're going to found a Navy, we'll start with 2 boats and a prayer. If we're going to switch sides in a world war, we'll do it while under occupation. And if we're going to survive 69 days underground, we'll do it live on international television with better Wi-Fi than Congress. This date gives us ambition, defiance, greed, bravery, and miracles, sometimes all before lunch. So next time Friday the 13th rolls around, don't hide from it. Remember, it's the anniversary of poisoned emperors, fallen knights, a newborn republic, and 33 men who prove that even when buried alive, humans still have a knack for finding the light. And that, dear viewers, is why we keep coming back to history. Not just for the lessons, but for the reminder that we've always been this ridiculous. So until next time, keep your mushrooms unpoisoned, your cornerstones accounted for, and your sense of humor intact.